last years of the 19th century, that human affairs were being watched from the timeless worlds of space. No one could have dreamed we were being scrutinized as someone with a microscope studies creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. Few men even considered the possibility of life on other planets. And yet, across the gulf of space, minds immeasurably superior to ours regarded this Earth with envious eyes. And slowly and surely, they drew their plans against us.
Broadcasting live
from a tiny studio somewhere in North America.
This is Dark Matters Radio Live. And now I give you your host,
the silverback of ufology.
Here's Don Ecker.
And a happy Halloween weekend to one and all. Welcome back to Dark Matters Radio. I am your host. My name is Don Ecker. This is every single scintilla brought to you courtesy of KGRA Radio. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special Halloween show. The first hour, I will be joined by Mark Center, Richard Sarradet, and a special guest, Ms. Amanda Curran, who is the co-host of Sky Tour Radio, heard on KGRA on Sundays, hosted by Mr. Mark D'Antonio. And also, although he's not here tonight, another co-host, Daryl Mason, joins Amanda and Mark each week. And this hour episode will be absolutely free. In other words, no breaks. We'll be running from now until East Coast time. Let's see, what is it? 9 o'clock. And out here on the West Coast, we'll be running with Amanda and Mark and Rich until 6. And at 6 o'clock, we break the pace, and I bring back Mr. Jeff Harman, a world-renowned astrologer. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff that he's picked up from the stars, not the least of which he's going to make some predictions about that election coming up on Tuesday.
What?
So, let us get on with it. Amanda, it's a distinct pleasure to have you join us. And Richie and Mark, welcome back, guys.
Well, thank you. Good to be here. I look forward to a good spook show.
You really know how to make a girl feel welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I think this is going to be a really fun show. Your next guest sounds amazing, too, so...
Yeah, it's always a treat. I listen often to you and Mark and Daryl on Sky Tour Radio after Commander Cobra's show. So, this is really a treat that you can join us. Now, I'll tell you the secret truth. One of the reasons I wanted to have Amanda on the show, and you may laugh at this, but be it as it may, I think she's as big a geek about the TV show Supernatural as I am. Would that be in the ballpark, Amanda?
I think so. I'd like to say I can hang with you, but you guys know your stuff.
Yeah,
I'm always impressed listening to you guys talk about Supernatural on the show.
Let me ask
numbers, titles, everything.
Let me ask you a question, and you could win a cookie.
Ooh.
When Mark and Richie and I were doing the Saturday night show, what was it that Mark would say at the end of each episode?
Ooh. I have a feeling it's from Supernatural, but there's so many good lines. I don't know.
Mark?
Shot in the dark here. Well,
Go ahead. Take a shot.
I have a lot of guesses. I don't know. You guys are all really good friends, and you seem close to like brothers. So maybe, family doesn't end with blood.
Mark, tell us what you say.
God bless Sam and Dean Winchester.
Oh, clever.
And he would do that week after week after week.
Nice.
Well, according to the show, God's blessing might not be so great.
Right.
Well, the bottom line is, did you guys watch last night's episode? There's only 3 left before this series goes away. But Mark, did you get a chance to see it?
So you were tripping balls and you saw Jack. Is that what you're saying?
And Amanda, I know you saw it, right?
I did.
Oh my God. I got to tell you, I was so upset at the very end of that.
Don't tell me I taped it, but yeah, go ahead.
Jack was starting to make the change, and Supernatural will return. And
those credits hurt. Those credits. I mean, I heard a spoiler about how the show's going to end, but not storyline wise. But I know what the final scene's going to be, and just reading the words breaks my heart. I don't know if I should tell you guys or not.
No, do not.
Okay. It's nothing to do with the storyline or the show or anything like that.
No.
Okay.
Because then I'll be analyzing it and trying to,
No, it's not even like that. It's not even like that.
Well,
it's hard to explain, but
yeah, go ahead, Amanda.
Okay.
It's not giving anything away because I don't know how it's going to end, and right now I have a million theories, but I hear it's going to fade out with their unofficial theme song, "Carry On Wayward Son" by Kansas, and you know how the drum kind of goes,
yeah,
when it hits that last note, apparently it goes to a black screen with the words to the end.
Well,
so I don't know how it's going to lead there, but it's going to be heartbreak. I think everyone's going to be in tears, and that is just going to really push everyone over the edge.
There's one character.
There's no more to be continued. There's no more next time. There's nothing.
There's one character. Mark and I have talked about this many times, haven't we, Mark?
Yes, we have.
We want him to come back. Mark, do you want to tell him who it is?
Well, Don, his name is Mark Shepard.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done diddly squat since they kicked him off, and that's what I feel that they kicked him off. And I have a feeling there's some bad blood there, and I really don't think that they're probably going to bring him back.
Crowley, yeah, Fergus McLeod. Crowley.
Who here has not seen last night's episode?
I have not.
Just you? Okay, so I don't want to give anything away because I've been kind of disappointed with the majority of the season, to be honest. Last week's and especially last night's were epic. Were absolutely, and I feel worse and worse that it's coming to an official end because this is a fan's dream right now. What's going on right now, and yeah, it's getting heavy. It's getting heavy, folks.
A couple of years ago, I knew that eventually this was going to come to a close. Mm-hmm. I think it was at the time they were talking about possibly season 14 would be it, and then the great news, no, there's going to be one more. But they were kind of tickling us with Wayward Sisters. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, I was worked up about that. I really thought that Jody and Donna and Claire and all the girls, I really thought that would be a great series. And then they pulled the rug out from under me.
Wasn't there supposed to be another spinoff? They did a really weird kind of obscure episode.
Yeah,
and
back
it was supposed to lead into another series.
Season 9, yeah.
What was that? I can't remember.
Yeah, it took place in Chicago.
What was the storyline? Were they two other hunters? It wasn't the ghost hunters.
No, a couple of brothers were battling mobster demons in the city. They were passing themselves off as mobsters.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was years ago, and nothing ever came of that either. But
no, that was
looked very appealing
weak,
to me.
Amanda, I thought it was weak.
Yeah, Wayward. I mean, I'm sorry, Wayward Sisters. It just seems like they're trying to cash in on a formula that worked once, and I'm sure a lot of fans would have wanted to support it because these are great characters. But are they strong enough characters to hold their own series?
Oh, I thought they were. They were. I really did.
I think we might. I think the connection is beginning to get bad, Don. I think we're starting to lose her.
No. Some of the cast members are doing that on their own well enough. No one needs to help them. So,
and I guess some of us know that, as I call him, Shoulders has a new show. He's in the reboot of Walker, Texas Ranger, and he plays the lead.
Yeah. I saw a promo picture for that today, actually. Today or yesterday, I forgot. Yeah, Walker. Yeah,
Jared had to find another short guy, huh?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a pic. I'm gonna have to try to find one here because I would assume he's got a lot of facial hair.
I don't think he did actually. I'm trying to think back. There might have been a little bit of scruff, but I don't think it was that.
Oh wait, yeah, I just found it, and there's no scruff, so the ladies can see that jawline. Yes.
And I don't know. It's so different from Supernatural. Again, I think enough of the fans are going to want to support it, but it's not. I mean, it's so different from what Supernatural is. Can their loyalty to the actor really hold the show? It was popular back in the day, the original, but I don't think I'm going to be tuning in. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, this weekend, guys, is Halloween. Now, I was talking to Richie earlier today, and he had a great idea, and something that happened to him that was very, very spooky. So I'm going to ask Rich to tell that little story. And Amanda, you and Mark, I want you guys to think about anything that may have happened to you over the years that you might want to contribute to this, a spooky story. And then I've got one that happened to me, and I'll save that for the very end. But Rich, do you want to start it out, pal?
Well, yeah, it was after we had done UFOs Tonight, way back when. And I was living in Santa Monica on San Vicente, which runs right to Ocean Avenue overlooking the cliffs. And it's a divided street with like a 20-foot wide strip of neutral ground with these beautiful Japanese coral trees that were given for that purpose to the city from a sister city from Santa Monica in Japan. So anyway, at the beach, often, it's a warm night until you get almost to the beach, and then you hit the fog bank, and it can be a really thick fog bank. So I'm just about home, and I'm coming to the last. It just kind of curves slightly to the left as you come to the last 40 feet. And I ran into the fog about a block away from the beach, and the fog got thicker and thicker. And then as I slowed down to come to that last little curve and stop and make a U-turn and then park on the other side, which is where my apartment building was, I see this figure in the fog on my right, standing in the street, ready to cross it. And I can't see his face. I can just see the chin and a little bit of mouth. And it was strange. He was wearing a hoodie, and I mean, not a sweatshirt hoodie, but it was a hood. And the bottom of it was like it covered his whole body. He was extremely tall and extremely slender. And it was like all in tatters around his ankles and stuff, just tatters, like a big robe. And it almost reminded me of a ghillie suit, in that it was weird looking. It had all this tatters hanging from it. And it was kind of greenish gray, different tatters like that, almost muted colors in the fog, and probably was mute anyway. So anyway, I passed him, and in the rearview mirror, I saw him crossing over to neutral ground, and I made my U-turn, and I pulled up about where he should be coming off the neutral ground on the other side, and I parked by my apartment building. And I hopped out of the car and looked up expecting to see him on the neutral ground, because he was heading right towards my direction. Only he was gone. He was just gone. I went out the neutral ground, I ran across, I looked around, where'd he go? And he was gone. And it just made me feel really weird, experience. So that was a little spooky story I have. I have others, but I go on forever with one night waking up, looking out the window when I heard these cats bawling. And my bed was right under the window. And down on the first story in my backyard were cats. And they were jumping over the fence, and they were all sitting in a circle. They came and kept joining the circle. And when they got into a circle, they looked up in my window like they could see me. And it freaked me out.
Oh, my God.
And I put my head under the pillow, and that was it. I didn't look out again. I was about 15 or 16. I think, 15 when that happened. It was weird.
Oh,
so those are my two creepy stories.
Okay. Amanda, do you got anything you want to contribute?
I don't really have any encounters. My mom said once when I was a baby in my crib, she woke up hearing someone talking to me. And she thought it was her father who had passed 2 years before I was born. And she freaked out thinking he was coming to take me to the other side. And my dad said, no, he's probably just coming to get to know her, just to meet her. And I'm still here, so I guess he was right. I don't know if that counts, but that's what I've been told.
Well, it counts.
Okay.
Marky Mark?
Except for my love life before I got married, no. But I will say I'm beginning to post some stuff in the chat because your guest and I seem to be the ones who can get into chat. So I'm in there to post some of these movies that are off the beaten track. So if you want to ruin your Halloween and get in a dour mood and just have a terrible time with a super intense film, The House That Jack Built. And The House That Jack Built with Matt Dillon and Uma Thurman in a blink and you will miss it moment. 2.5 hours of just, I don't know, like our actor would say, it takes a long time to make a movie, right, Rich? It takes a long time. So to make this movie took months to make, and it's such a difficult sit. It's so difficult to sit through this thing with the things that this guy does to children and animals, and it's like, oh my God. So if you want to ruin your Halloween, check out The House That Jack Built.
Well, I think I'll pass.
Oh, come on. It's just a movie.
I think I'll pass. Well, it was probably 4 or 5 days before Christmas, 1971. Now, I was in Vietnam then, and I was up on the demilitarized zone, separating South Vietnam from the communist North. And I was deployed up there out of Quang Tri, which was south of us, but our actual parent unit was all the way down in Phu Bai. Now, you'd have to look at a map of Vietnam to see where those places are. But at any rate, so we get a radio message at our commo bunker, and it said that the old man, who was a chief warrant officer by the name of Wilson, wanted me to hustle my bustle down to Quang Tri. He had to see me. Now, that was kind of weird, okay? And, of course, everybody thinks Vietnam was hot all the time, but that was during a lot of monsoon season was going on, and believe me, it was chilly. So I gather my trash up, and the next morning, I forget how I got down there. They might have sent a chopper up. Either that, well, at one point, I remember riding a Jeep all the way down. But at any rate, I get down to Quang Tri, and the old man tells me that there was an emergency at my home back in Pennsylvania, and the Red Cross arranged for me to have an emergency leave. Now, it was my granddad had a heart attack. Now, normally that would not be enough to get somebody out of Vietnam, but when the Korean War started, my father got called back into service. He was in World War II, and he became what they in those days termed a retread. Okay, he was retreaded back into the Army, and he was on his way to Korea. Needless to say, my mom was not a happy camper, but we ended up living with my grandfather and grandmother, my mother's parents, while Dad was away. So, I mean, in essence, he raised me for a number of years. So we were, and incidentally, we were very, very close. So I get down to Phu Bai. I find my cleanest set of dirty jungle fatigues, okay? And I jump in the shower, I take a shower, blah, blah. And I went out to the airfield, and I waited for anything that was headed south down to Saigon. And finally, I got a transport that flew from Phu Bai down to Saigon. So I get down there, and I've got my emergency orders, and now I've got to wait to find anything that's flying out of country. Now, this was at Christmas time. So needless to say, there weren't a lot of airplanes leaving country. Anybody that was going to leave had already left. So I sat there for about 14 hours waiting for anything. And finally, an Air Force cargo jet was flying to Guam. And then finally from Guam, I got a flight to Hawaii, and I said, the heck with this. And I ended up buying a ticket, and I fly home. Well, I see my granddad before he passed away. He was in the hospital. And actually, when I got to see him, he was starting to recover a bit. So we all had hope that he was going to make it. Well, it was right after Christmas had come and gone. And this was after the New Year. And he passed, okay? As a matter of fact, when the doctors called, I answered the phone. So it was, I was devastated. I mean, like I said, I had been very, very close. So we had the funeral. Now, my granddad was a military veteran. He served in World War I, and he served again in World War II. So they had a big military funeral. He was a very, very prominent guy. As a matter of fact, our congressman from the district then, he and my granddad were best friends. They had both served together in World War I. So there were a lot of high-powered people there. And after the funeral was conducted and he was buried, everybody went back to my grandmother's home. And I don't know about where you guys grew up, but after funerals then, all the people that had gone to the funeral, what have you, would bring foodstuffs and that kind of thing to the house, right? And then they would just kind of have some fellowship. Everybody would visit and meet and so on and so forth. So it was really a heck of a lot for me. So I told my grandma, I said, I'm going to go into the guest bedroom. I just can't be around all these people. And I went in there, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I started crying like a baby. I mean, my best buddy had just left me, okay? And I was very, very devastated, almost on the verge of collapse. And I was laying there hoping that I would, maybe fall asleep, take a nap or something. Suddenly, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, the room started to fill up with a very low-key blue light. And then I heard like a buzzing noise. And I jerked up and I looked around, and here was this big blue light in the middle of the bedroom. And I knew it was my granddad. I felt it, and a sense of peace and calm went over me like I would never have believed. And that's that story. Now, a couple of months later, I get back to Vietnam. And this is just before the North Vietnamese offensive that began on March the 30th, 1972. I'm in Quang Tri, and I was going to be deployed back up to the DMZ, and occasionally we would have artillery hit us, the North Vietnamese. I mean, literally, they could shoot at us from North Vietnam and from Laos, which was off to the west, and hit around the camp. And I was outside doing something at this base, and suddenly I heard a voice. It was like it was in my ear. And all it said was, "Donnie," and that's what they called me when I was a kid, Donnie. "Move." And and I look around, there's nobody there. And I figured, well, I better hustle my bustle. And I did. And I dove into a ditch, and an artillery round hit. Ooh. So I think, well, the only explanation I can tell you is that my granddad, I guess, was keeping an eye on me. I mean, my God, I don't know how those things work, but that's the conclusion I came to. Now, there's just one more little vignette I want to tell you that happened here at my home now, up in the San Fernando Valley. Now, my wife Vicki and I live in a rural area, a lot of horses around here, a lot of wildlife. I mean, I've had coyotes come up to my door, okay, and run up the side of the house. I had a mountain lion one time, about how many years ago now? It's been quite a few years ago, maybe 15 years ago. Come up to my back wall leading into my backyard. And I know what the cat was doing. He was looking for a dog meal, okay? So, I mean, when I say we have a lot of wildlife here, we do. Now, Vicki loves all the critters, okay? She especially loves all the birds. And she feeds the birds, and we have a hummingbird feeder that, we love to watch hummingbirds come in and feed from it, that kind of thing. Well, one day she was getting rid of a bunch of bread, okay, that had started to go stale. And she put it in this bowl. Now, I don't know if she did this intentionally or whether she was doing something else. She set it down on the front wall in front of our bay window. But I'm in there doing something, dinking around in the living room, and all of a sudden, I looked up, and there was a literal murder of crows. Do you know what a murder of crows is?
Mm-hmm.
Amanda, do you know what that is?
I do. It's a group of crows.
Yeah, big bunch of crows, and they were sitting on our front wall. A couple of them were looking in the house, and they were diving into that bread. And I got to tell you, my heart caught in my throat. I had never seen anything like that. And I've never had problems with the crows or the ravens or whatever they were. But, buddy, did that freak me out.
They're very interesting creatures, crows. You know, if you fed them consistently, like you made that a regular thing, you know what would happen? they'd start bringing you little gifts to pay for it. They'd leave little things behind for you.
I've heard that.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Crows are very, very clever, yeah.
And they work as a team. They really work
highly intelligent.
You see that video where they would get these walnuts they couldn't crack open, So they would stand on the side of the road and wait for a car to come, and they'd quickly put the walnut and then scoot back to the side and let the car wheel run over the walnut, and they'd go pick up the pieces.
That's funny.
I went, man, those guys are smart, But this thing about gifting, they have this thing, they'll bring you like something they picked up, maybe like an old watch or something, or, a paperclip or something that they picked up.
$20 bill? That'd be nice.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, a diamond ring or something,
Cats do that too. Cats will bring home presents for you, like mice or birds or something. Sometimes bring home dinner once in a while.
Yeah, look what I brought.
Crows are smart too. Back when I had my last job, on very hot days, crows will get mites and things on them. On very hot days, they'll go out into a field, a dirt field, and they'll spread their wings out and they'll bake in the sun to make the mites and stuff jump off of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, speaking of bringing gifts of mice, now both Rich and Mark knew my dog Buckwheat.
I knew him, and that.
He was a big boy. He in his prime he went up around 125. He was a combination of Labrador Retriever, German Shepherd, and Chinese Shar-Pei. Okay, so there, you put that picture in your mind. And he was about the color of buckwheat, kind of a honey buckwheat. Well, when he was still a pup, I guess he might have been a year or two old. We still had our cat, Soupy, which was a little tabby cat that before the coyotes got him, okay? And he was just the sweetest animal. And Buckwheat and he were great pals, all right? But one night, okay, this had to be like after 11:30 or so, and Vicky and I are in bed trying to get to sleep, and all of a sudden, my eyes popped open, and I felt somebody watching me. And I sat up in bed, and there was Buckwheat standing beside the bed, staring at me. He had his mouth closed, and all of a sudden I heard this squeak, squeak, squeak. Well, I had to deduce what had happened. Apparently, Soupy, our tabby, had gone out hunting, had found a field mouse, and you know how cats will just toy with them. Well, that was too much for Buckwheat, so he ran up, knocked Soupy away, picked the mouse up in his mouth, and came into the bedroom with it. And when I figured out what he had in his mouth, I said, "Oh my God, Buckwheat, give me that." And I pried his jaws open, and he was just holding the mouse on his tongue. I got the mouse away from him. Yeah, really. I got it away from him, took it out back, and I mean, the cat had really bunged the mouse up, but he was still alive. I threw him up on the bank, and we got owls. And I come back in the bedroom. We've got a sliding door that goes into the backyard from the bedroom. And I could hear that mouse squeaking up on the bank. And all of a sudden I heard this, ooh, ooh, and suddenly dead silence. So one of the owls figured out where that mouse was at, and that was the end of the mouse.
Yeah. Boy, owls have some vision, I'll tell you.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So
I got three right here that kind of triangulate where I'm sitting right now. And the tree behind me, the tree right a little bit further down to the right, and the tree in the front yard. They create like a triangle around my house. and they're really interesting to listen. They communicate back and forth. And one time I was walking back from my man cave into the house past the pool, and suddenly I heard this, and right over my head, I mean like maybe a foot over my head from behind, this huge 3 foot at least wingspan owl just swooped over my head and went straight out over the canyon. I went, whoa, that was weird, man. I couldn't hear a thing.
Oh, be glad he didn't dive bomb your cabeza.
Yeah. What do you think there was something in my hair?
Yeah. Well, guys, this year is so squirrely with the COVID pandemic and all the lockdowns and all the assorted crap. But Amanda, if we didn't have to contend with all that, do you have anything you normally do on the holiday?
No, not anymore. Not really.
Well, you don't go trick-or-treating?
No, not anymore. And where I am now, like, it was good back in Ontario because we had, like, neighborhoods. So, like, all the kids would come to my house and I could see all their costumes without having to go around, But where I am right now is so remote. Like, you would have to drive, like, a minute or two to get in between houses. And then, they're all big, long driveways. And, you'd waste an hour going to, like, 5 houses. So no one comes around here. It's really sad.
Yeah. Well, we only ever get the kids from across the lane that drop over here. And I'm
That's
sure
what Halloween's about. Kids as little animals and little cartoons. And
now, Mark was great about my neighborhood, man. We got tons.
Mark would dress up and then hide in the bushes as the kids come by. And then jump out, scare them to death, and steal their candy. I mean, he used to giggle at that. But
yeah, but I got arrested, so I had to stop.
They said, put your pants on.
I meant nothing but love, but they said the bowl of popcorn with the hole in the bottom, that's a step too far.
Well, I told you about what my son and I did as a joke. When I had him sit in a chair with a bowl in his lap, of candy, right? And a little sign saying, take one. And it was like a stuffed, a flannel shirt and a pair of jeans, all stuffed in newspaper, So it was like a dummy. Only it wasn't. It was my son made to look like a dummy. And so the kids would come up, take one. And some kids would take one and walk away. Others would come up and just start filling the bag up. And suddenly the hand would come up and grab their hand. From the stuffed farmer, whatever it looked like. That was my son. And boy, you talk about scream. I was hiding in the bushes on the side of the house. I just started laughing. That was a great trick-or-treat prank.
Well, I'll tell you.
I played kind of a supernatural prank once.
Yeah?
I don't know if you guys would find it mean or if you would see the good intention behind it. Or
if it's mean, tell us.
Well, it wasn't mean. I mean,
well, tell us.
I mean, I kind of lied to my friends, and so that's not good. But it was for a good reason. I don't know how we got into this topic, but we started talking about seances, and I was kind of joking around with them. I'm like, oh, let's see if I can contact a spirit or whatever, right? And it was in high school and we were young, and I'm not naming names, but one of my friends had an eating disorder. So I thought maybe, since she's not listening to any of us, maybe, I could work an angle. So I tried my best acting job, and I contacted the spirit, and I went into the whole thing, and we were all linking hands. And I said, I have a message for one of you here. It's really important. Someone here is going to die the same way I did. And they started freaking out, and they were trying to stop it. So I gripped onto their hands tighter, and I wouldn't let go. So I did this whole big spiel about they found my body. I was 85 pounds. I died in front of the open refrigerator. Made this whole big thing, and then I let go, and I jerked my body back, and, I was trying to form tears coming down my eyes, and I'm like, okay, that took a lot out of me. I'll be right back. I went to the kitchen, killing myself laughing. I'm like, there's no way they fell for it, but it was fun. They're going to go along with it, whatever. I came back into the room. They are holding on to each other, crying, rocking back and forth, explaining to me what was said while I was out in the trance. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, you know what? If this works, I'm not going to say anything. So I just, we went on with our night, whatever. The next day at school, all these people start coming up to me. Oh my God, I heard you can contact spirits. Oh my God, I heard you did a seance the other night. I'm like, what do I do? And I'm like, no, I was just joking. No, I can't contact spirits. But so they were disappointed. I'm like, what do I do? I thought that was going to be it. And it went way, way too far. I was like, oh God,
Were you then ostracized by your girlfriends?
No, they knew that I was trying to do it for the right reasons, but they really, they went along with it, hook, line, and sinker. So I don't know. Was that a good thing? Was that a bad thing? I don't know. It was a thing.
Well, I mean, we all do things when we're young. I'm not going to wrap myself out, but I've got a few stories I could tell too. Oh.
Tell us.
No.
Can't just tease us like that. Come on.
All right, I'll tell you this one. Okay, now, do you remember the book, The Search for Bridie Murphy?
No.
Rich, are you familiar with that book? Mark, have you ever heard of it?
On mute.
No, I have never heard of that book.
Well, it's a true story. It was about a woman here in the United States. This was, I think, well, you can look it up, Mark. I'm sure you can find it.
What's the title again?
The Search for Bridie Murphy. Okay. And it was a book about the supposed reincarnation of this American housewife who originally, back in I think it was the 1800s, a woman who was born in Ireland and lived her life and then passed on. Okay, well, apparently, if this premise is correct, I mean, everybody at one point or another had previous lives. That's what the book was about. So back when I was about 17 or 18, okay, I hung around with a group of guys. Some of them were making a band, and, it's just kids that I knew from the area where I lived. And somebody got into the idea of testing hypnosis. Okay. And we tried it with a couple of guys, and then it was my turn, and I did a thing that I was hypnotized. And back in those days, I could do a few different accents. All right. and I had these guys convinced that I was in the 1600s in England. Okay.
No.
Oh yeah, I did.
Oh my God!
Honest to God, I just remembered something about 7 or 8 years ago. One of those guys was on Facebook, and he got in touch with me. We were talking, and he said, "Hey, do you remember when we hypnotized you?" And you had a past life over in England. Oh yeah, sure. I kind of remember that.
Yeah. Don't fess up.
But I did do that, and I've always felt a little guilty about that.
Yeah, I can tell by the way you're laughing. You feel really guilty.
Well, it was funny. It was funny. Hell, I had half these hillbillies going down to the library to see if they could verify what I was saying.
Now that's funny.
Yeah. Oh.
I kind of have the opposite problem. I tell people true stories and they refuse to believe them.
Well, it's all in your delivery, Rich.
There was a question from chat a little while ago from our dear producer, Bill. He wants to know, everyone on the panel, what's your favorite or creepiest movie recommendation for Halloween for all of our listeners? I know people have been throwing a few ideas in chat already, but do we have an official selection from everybody?
You start off, Amanda.
Halloween or not, I would always recommend the Saw series. You guys know that.
The what?
Saw series?
Yeah.
There's a new one supposed to be coming out, directed by Chris Rock.
Oh, good.
He wrote and directed it. It was supposed to be out in May, but obviously COVID shut everything down, so I'll let you guys know when that's out.
Yeah, because that'll probably have a good touch of wit in it.
Well, I hear it's going to be good. It's not like a comedy. It's not a spoof. It's actually like a really scary, well thought out movie. But we'll see.
I'll tell you, I've got to call John Carpenter's Halloween, and then the follow on a couple of years later, Halloween 2, as the best flicks for the season. Now, Halloween affected me so much back in the day. Okay, oh my God, it was just great. It really was chilling. Okay, it was chilling, but I appropriated one of the songs from it and used it as my theme song on my original radio show, Blue Oyster Cult. Don't fear the
Reaper. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Still love that song. It still takes me back to the UFO Tonight days, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
how about you, Mark?
So if you're into movies like Saw and all that, what they call torture porn. If you haven't seen The Collector from 2009, same producers, same torture porn. It is a very rough movie. So I would
consider Saw torture porn, but
well, yeah, it's a fairly wide sort of a variety of movies that you could put in there. You could actually put in the original Texas Chainsaw possibly in there too. But I mean, there's a lot of gore, a lot of slow-mo gore, a lot of flesh tearing and all that. So if you're into that, we watched The Collector from 2009. We tend to watch a movie a night, and we watched that a couple of nights ago. I had not seen it. And it is a face full of gore, let me tell you. The Collector.
Well, that's a little more gore than I want, okay? I like good Now, there's definitely a bit of gore, not gratuitous, but a bit of gore in Halloween, okay?
Sure.
But it's not over the top. And, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis back in the day was quite, shall we say, fetching.
Yes.
And, yeah. And I'll tell you, the damsel in distress, there was just something about that movie that got under my skin.
Well, it became a real classic.
Yeah, I like those. I think I won't get too deeply into it, but I've been into trading the VHS tapes, then the Laserdisc and stuff since the 80s for these types of films. So, I have thousands that I've watched. And I think much like other things that we consume on video, you do build up a thick skin. And that's why things like Saw and The Collector and these sorts of movies get a little bit more intense. Same thing with the CGI. First it starts out a little bit, and then we get the Transformer films that I freaking hate. But I do like, I'd say that if you turn the lights down and you haven't seen The Exorcist Part 1 or 3 in a while, and you crank up the audio and you unplug the phone, those are pretty creepy films still.
I was searching my mind and say, what is, my favorite, scariest movie? And you just hit on it. I think it was, for me, going to the big theater in Westwood on the night it opened with some friends, and I drove, I remember. to see The Exorcist,
Mhm.
and I'd heard it was like really frightening, And having had some experiences with paranormal activity, I guess I was a little more like, well, anything's possible. So I said, but yeah, it's a movie. I'm just gonna watch it. So I watched the movie, and it was very creepy and very. It did a good job. William Friedkin did a good job.
Yeah.
And when it was over, the lights came up. We all kind of took a deep breath, and got up, and I realized my keys had not left my hand. I'd crushed my keys into my palm. So the imprint was in my palm for about the next half hour, man. But yeah, I don't like gore,
Well, I'll tell you, you talk about scary. And of course, the first time I saw this, I was just a kid. It was on late night Saturday. Okay, back when I think I was still single digits then. But Howard Hawks' movie, The Thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I just watched it a couple of years ago again. And I got to say, that movie was top notch. It held up.
Absolutely. I watched it a couple of nights ago, Don. I watched
Really?
it and it was great. I really enjoyed it. And I love, as we all know, the famous last line. Anybody know what the last line of the film is?
Watch the skies. Keep looking up.
Yeah.
Or words to that effect.
Yeah, that's it. Watch the skies. Keep looking up. Watch the skies.
The guy that played the pilot, Toby.
I love him. Kenneth Tobin, yeah.
Kenneth Tobin, yeah. He was great.
He was great. And so was his girlfriend.
Margaret Sheridan.
Yeah,
I fell in love with her.
Oh, I'm telling you, she was a good actress. But you know what I like about those movies? You see how crisp and fast the dialogue goes?
Yeah.
That style? I like that. It's just straight. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, boss. Yeah, I like that style.
Rich brings up a good point about when you go to the theater, when the Paranormal Activity #1 came out. I saw it in a sold-out show, and it worked great, man. We're all freaking out and screaming and such, and then you try to watch something like that at home, it just didn't work the same. But boy, with a group full of people, like at a comedy show, everybody's prepped to laugh. Well, it's something like this. Everybody wants some thrills, and I got to tell you, that first film worked. I mean, I was like, boy, oh boy. And then we watched it at home a few years, and it was like, man, this thing's terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't work nearly the same. It's like anytime you're in a group, you're kind of sharing group mind and both on the conscious and unconscious level. That's the mob mentality. And as we know, being in the field of believing, there's telepathy and communication between us, even we don't realize it, going on all the time. It's just our levels of awareness about it. And remote viewing points that out. But as an actor, when you're on stage before a live audience, there are a lot of experience in this. If the audience gets enrolled, the show just gets better that night, and better and better and better. If the audience is not enrolled, it's much harder work.
Well, here's a movie that I've mentioned on this show a number of times, and it's not traditionally something you would consider for Halloween, but the tension, the rising, gut fear is something, if you've never seen this film before, and I've watched it now probably a half dozen times. A movie that was low budget, okay, you never would have figured it would grab you the way it did, but it's called The Objective.
Oh, right on, man. That is, really, that's a trip. That is a trip, literally and figuratively.
Yes,
highly
it
recommend
is.
it. Yeah. It's a great film.
And if you want to watch a double feature, throw in Alien Outpost just for fun.
Oh, my God.
That's another good one. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Yeah.
But
The
Outpost.
Low budget, but
The Objective. The Objective is just unique and truly creepy, and keeps you thinking and worrying and all that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think I bought you the disc for that, right, Don? I think.
Yes, you did.
Because you can't trust the streaming places because they'll take stuff off. And if you really like a film, if you don't have the physical copy, it's like, well, gee, there's nowhere I can watch this.
Yeah. I've got it downloaded. Don sent it to me, and I downloaded it.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. And if you got any Alien fans out there, Don, I don't know if that's your thing. Alien Outpost is worth a look.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Well, guys,
Amanda?
we're about down to less than a minute. So, first off, I want to tell you all this has been great fun. Amanda, I hope you enjoyed yourself because it's been a real treat having you on.
This was a fun night. I was really worried about this all week, but you guys are wonderful and very welcoming. So I had a lovely time. Thank you. Maybe we can do it again for the series finale.
I would love to do it. Yeah, I'd like to talk with, get to know you better.
Any quick theories on how it's going to end?
I hope it doesn't have a Journey song and fades to black. That's all.
Oh, golly. Well, guys, that's it. When we get back from break, we are going to have Mr. Jeff Harman and astrology and predictions. Gang, have a great Halloween.
Happy Halloween, all.
Stan and Dean Winchester. 3 episodes left.
And we'll catch you on the flip side.
All right, people. Stay safe. Eat candy.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. GetTheTea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Permanent industrial glue impossible to remove? Not anymore, because Handyman Formula by D-Bond is a patented chemical adhesive remover. It's used in the building and home maintenance industry, but now it's available for your home use, for your DIY projects. Unglue stickers, silicone rubber, labels, price tags, flex tape, weather stripping, carpet glue, wood glue, liquid nails, even 3M 5200. And it dissolves graffiti. Yeah, graffiti. Handyman Formula by D-Bond works, and it's safe to use on most surfaces. No need to call a professional. Don't get out the pliers and blowtorch. Just apply a little Handyman Formula by D-Bond and wait 90 seconds, then quickly and easily pull the items apart. Get unstuck. Visit DBondHandymanFormula.com. That's DBondHandymanFormula.com or call 561-575-4200. Handyman Formula by D-Bond.
The Liberator Rocket Heater will heat your home for free. The highly efficient Liberator Rocket Heater has no moving parts. It's safe and strong, constructed of 1/4-inch steel. So like all things made in the USA, it's built to last. Uses any kind of wood, sticks, even scrap in its gravity-fed firebox. And it heats workshops, homes, garages, outbuildings, industrial areas, and barns. Watch the video of this blast furnace stove in action. Visit RocketHeater.com. That's RocketHeater.com.
Every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. Whether it's a natural disaster or one single child suffering from illness, the American Red Cross stands ready to supply blood when it's most needed. But blood is a perishable product. Therefore, it must continuously be replenished. You can safely donate blood every 56 days. The need is constant and patients are waiting. Call your American Red Cross at 1-800-GIVE-LIFE to schedule your life-saving appointment. Please give blood today. Patients are depending on you.
Halloween is not canceled. The Dark Zone Network brings you an epic live stream from the world's most haunted ship, the Queen Mary. Get tickets now at thedarkzone.tv. Become a remote ghost hunter and interact with your favorite paranormal experts as we explore the ship's most haunted rooms. Join us as we throw the world's biggest virtual Halloween party with celeb guests and killer music by Silver Sun Pickups, Filter, Bisto Blanco, and more. Plus our viewer costume contest. This 4-day stream is October 29th through November 1st. Grab tickets at thedarkzone.tv. Halloween's on at the Dark Zone.
Mainstream media's most wanted. KGRAradio.com.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back for hour number 2 of Dark Matters Radio. Of course, all thanks to KGRA Radio, your contact point to all those dusty, dark corners. And now joining us, Mr. Jeff Harman, a gentleman I have hosted on this show previously. Jeff is a world-renowned astrologer, has done some outstanding prediction work. And as a matter of fact, Jeff's wife, Camille James Harman, who is an actress, or Jeff, is it, which is correct? I mean, come on. Is it actor or actress?
It'd be actress, yeah. I think that's the right one.
Okay, all right, because I've gotten in trouble. I've gotten in trouble both ways. And Camille has, as a matter of fact, has been on this show. Jeff, welcome back. And boy, oh boy, you must have had a busy plate recently.
It's been a blur, I'll tell you that, no doubt. This has been the year from hell that I've been warning about, and it certainly has been. I mean, when you look at what, again, a decade ago, I was on many radio shows, and everybody said, what do you think of the Mayan calendar? And I said, not much. But I said, watch out for 2020. And what have we had? We've had COVID-19. Some people call it a pandemic. Others call it a scam plandemic. Whichever prefix you like. I'm not saying it's not real. I mean, there's a lot of doctors who absolutely say it's real. But on the other hand, it certainly seems to have been very politicized. I'll say that.
You think?
That's not coming from me. Oh, yeah. It's not coming from me. I've got a lot of clients who are doctors, who run hospitals, and I get to hear inside information. So what I'm saying right now is not my opinion. It's theirs. They're telling me that they get knocked off of Facebook and Twitter. They get censored. They're literally coerced to say certain situations are the COVID when it's not, particularly deaths, and it's financially motivated. And, I'm not saying COVID isn't real and that we all shouldn't observe what they say, but it's interesting to hear professionals in the medical industry say these things. And, I have to say there's probably something to it because we certainly have seen the politics of this whole situation really be emphasized in a way that has made a lot of people angry.
Well, the governor of this state, now, I've been through a number of, I don't know what to call them, epidemics, not pandemics, I guess, but epidemics. Sure. The swine flu, the what was it? The N1H1 flu.
Yep, that one too.
And hey, guess what, gang? Every year, flu season, okay, which incidentally, every year, I personally choose to get a flu shot. I have not had the flu per se for several decades. I get a shot every year. Now, does that work for you? I don't know. I wouldn't begin to try to tell you. But for me and my wife, Vicky, we get our flu shots, and we've been pretty good. Now, on the heel of that, I also have to admit that something happened to me It will be a year in December, on December the 2nd last year. I had just been elected to our local community association as a director. And I was at a meeting across the way from us. There's a park over there with a community building and what have you. That's where, prior to this fiasco, we always met. And I was over there, came home. I guess it was about 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock. You know, brushed my teeth, did all that kind of stuff, went to bed. At 2:30 roughly in the morning, I woke up violently ill. And I was projectile vomiting. Then diarrhea hit me, which incidentally hung on for about 2.5 weeks. Vicky was fighting with me every day. You got to go into the hospital. And after the first few days, other than the diarrhea, I got to be honest, I felt great. I felt fine. But that diarrhea thing hung on. And then I discover that a lot of travelers from Asia, from China, had been coming over here for months. The pandemic had already begun in Wuhan. The Chinese government, the communist government, knew about it. They blocked all movement in and out internally around Wuhan, but they let those people travel internationally. Now, I got to ask you, Jeff, I've been kind of suspicious since that time that I had a variation of that bug then.
You may have. Yeah, you may have. I mean, it's certainly for real. I know a lot of people who've had it, and sadly, some people have died from it, no question. But, you know, the interesting thing is I've had a couple of really good scientists who are medical infectious disease people tell me, and I think this was circulating on the news too, that the disease is actually 2 microns or something close to that, if I recall, and that wearing a mask may not stop it at all. So we can get it, no doubt about that. And well,
I bought masks, and right on the box, okay, it says this will not stop viruses and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But try to go outside to a store or something not wearing one of those.
Well, that's what I heard, and that the kind of mask we'd really need to stop it would be like a painter's mask. It would be a really serious, you know, I forget, it's an N91 or something like that, or an N95. You need something really serious to stop it. So, you know, it's interesting because, you know, again, if you're going to get it and we're around people that have it, you know, it may come anyhow. But the other thing is that, again, a lot of people seem to get over it, and quite well, especially if they're younger. At least, you know, I'm only reporting what I hear from doctors. What's interesting about the astrology is it showed that coming in almost precisely. We had the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction on January 15th, which is precisely when this whole thing really started to get legs and happen. And we had something, a very special condition. It's a strange word called the Kalasarpa Yoga. It just means that all the planets are in between the moon's eclipses points, which are known as Rahu and Ketu, or the moon's north and south node. And it didn't let up until May. And then what happened in May, the minute that let up, and we started seeing things change, Venus went retrograde, and we had the George Floyd incident, and all the riots started. And then once that let up a little bit, which didn't totally let up, then what happened is we had Mars square Saturn, and of course that incident with Jacob Blake happened, and it all went off over there in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And now we are in the election cycle. So this has been a crazy year for everybody. And I can tell you the election, Mercury is retrograde right now. And can we say possible voter manipulation? And even if it's not manipulation, it will certainly be a lot of confusion. And we've already heard many of the states have already adjudicated. They're not even going to be finishing counting. And so some of the courts have said, it could be up to 9 days plus before the counting is done. So we're not going to know who's president right away. We may have a probability, but I don't think we're going to know until the middle of November. And it may even go to an adjudication. And I think we're going to have something very similar to what we had in 2016, where we're going to have a popular vote that isn't consistent with the Electoral College.
What about civil strife, Jeff?
I think that's going to happen. In fact, I've been hearing, in Beverly Hills, I was just down there last night, they are boarding up Rodeo Drive. I mean, just nonstop. There's been Trump rallies every single weekend. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and he's not even there, are riding up and down Santa Monica Boulevard. I got pictures. I can't believe how many people. I mean, you can't even move. It's the whole city on that section, at least in Beverly Hills, is just rampant with displays of Trump voters. Well, this weekend, they're very worried, and they've closed off Rodeo Drive. They've boarded everything up. They boarded up the Beverly Hills Hotel. Everything is boarded up. They're expecting a lot of unrest, particularly from Election Day forward. And, we know that there's been some very well-funded groups that are, of course, we've heard of Antifa. There may be other ones that are behind some of this stuff. And it's really eerie what's happening in this country right now. It really is. I mean, I think you're like me, you're a child of the 50s, aren't we? I think we're both children of the 50s, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. And I mean, I remember when Kennedy got killed. I also remember in 68 when Martin Luther King got killed. That was a Saturn-Jupiter conjunction too. And this one is much, much different. It's much more intense. In fact, if anybody goes out at night, you can look up, you'll see 2 lights that'll ascend somewhat after sunset. And of course, that's Jupiter and Saturn. And there's a little app you can get on your iPhone. It's called Skyview. Works on Droids and iPhones. And you can actually see, if you pay for the app, the free one, you can see Saturn and Jupiter. But the one you pay for, you can actually see Pluto right in between Saturn and Jupiter. Well, this is a powerful, unprecedented time. These configurations haven't happened quite like they're happening for almost 240 years. And the last time, if you roll the clock back, that was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And now we have what I would call the beginning of another revolution, which is going to be a high-tech revolution that really moves the world in new directions. And that happens on the winter solstice of this year, not the day before or the day after, exactly on the 21st of this December. In fact, if anybody looks in the sky, you will see they are joined right together. You'll probably need an app like that or a telescope to see it. But the fascinating thing is what does this mean to the world? Well, this is why we're seeing this diametrically opposed world right now. I mean, it's not just in the United States, though. The United States, everyone's holding their breath for this election, but we're certainly seeing it globally. I'm hearing all over the world. I'm talking the shamans in the jungle. They're locked down. They can't get transports up the Amazon River. People in Australia, people in Europe, Brussels, England, France, South America, it's all over. This is an unprecedented time. It really is.
Well, from the standpoint of being a former law enforcement officer, I have never in my life seen anything that would compare to what I've witnessed this year in 2020. The idea that places, like Portland, would allow weeks and weeks and months of continuous chaos and buildings burning, and my heaven, it goes beyond insane. And I know that if I were a store owner, if I owned a store that got wrecked and destroyed in the like of something like that, I would be looking for my pound of flesh from the city fathers that allowed that to happen.
I think there's certain clauses in insurance that negates certain insurance companies to pay. I thought I heard something about that. So, yeah, this is catastrophic for some of these people. It really is.
Well, it is scary, and I you know what I've actually been waiting for, Jeff, and I've been watching closely, is for blowback. The people that have been victimized by this chaos, and just ordinary, common day, every day-to-day citizens walking down the street, and they might be the wrong skin color. Read that Caucasian, and they suddenly get attacked because I would have never believed that in my life.
Yeah, it's unprecedented times. It really, really is. And I think it's probably going to start to settle into next year. I've been looking at this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction ends right on the winter solstice, and I think we're going to still end up with a crazy year next year. And I'm worried about China. I really am. And we're seeing, George Carlin, the comedian, was one of my favorites, and I love George. In fact, George gave me all my filing cabinets in my office, and I always revere that, now that he's gone. And I never realized that would become something that would be dear to me like that. But now that he's gone, I always remember his words. He says, forget the politicians, you have owners. And we do. They print the money at the top of the pyramid. And one of the things that I see happening right now, and it's also affecting the media, and the split, the bifurcation we see between literally, I've never in my life seen media become campaign arms for candidates. And this is exactly what we're seeing. And what's fascinating is the polarization militarily we're seeing right now. And this might be what's on the radar screen in the future. I hope it's not. But we're seeing the United States fund billions, I think it's like 1.4 or 1.8 billion to Taiwan. I've actually got a relative in Taiwan, and I've heard directly from him that there is flyovers over there all the time now. The Chinese are very angry with the United States, selling them all this anti-missile equipment. We're selling hardware to India, building up Japan. Some big stuff is happening. And I think the owners ultimately are going to get Trump in. That's what the astrology looks like. I think Trump's going to win this election. I don't think it's going to be easy or pretty, and I think it's going to be a real mess with this whole mail-in voting thing. But if I'm right on the astrology, it looks like Trump gets in. And the reason why I think they're very nervous at the top of the pyramid about the strength that China has achieved, and they are out to literally push them back down because China wants to replace the petrodollar. It's always follow the money, right? Follow the money. And I think that's where it's going. And I pray there's no war for all of the human race, because the war we would have today would make other wars not that any war is a good thing, but it would be eerie today.
Well, looking at some of the aspects of this debacle that we're living through right now, the information that has dribbled out the last weeks and month or more concerning the alleged criminality practiced by the Biden crime family, that is shocking with China. I mean, here is a man running for the highest office on the planet, and hey, China is no friend of the United States. None.
Nope.
These guys are tyrants, and it to me, and I hate to get political, but by God, this is on my mind, so I'm going to say it. The Democratic National Committee appears to have been taking lessons from the Chinese Communist Party on how to be a successful tyrant and how to use propaganda against your political opponents. And I have, once again, I've never seen anything the likes of this in my life, Jeff.
Oh, me neither. Me neither. Eisenhower warned about this. In fact, Eisenhower wrote, anybody can jump on the internet and read about this. Eisenhower wrote a really intelligent paper, and he gave a speech on it right when he left office. This was right before John F. Kennedy got in. And I was very, very little. I mean, I read about it. And I thought it was interesting because what's happening right now is precisely what he predicted would happen with the military-industrial complex. And it's always follow the money. This whole deep state stuff, it's all about the funding of the money. And I think it's really just unbelievable that not only the FBI is, if I'm reading the charts right, I think we're going to see a surprise here very soon, right before or on the election that's going to shock us. It really looks bizarre. It really does. And I think it's going to be related to this issue that the FBI is investigating.
Can you be a bit more specific?
Yeah, well, I would say it looks, I could be wrong, but it looks to me like this Biden thing is going to blow up in his face. This whole scandal is going to blow up in his face. I've heard rumors that I cannot substantiate that Hunter already has been in some medical facility. I don't know if that's true. And that he has actually told a lot of what's happened here. And it's very interesting. It's been kept really hush-hush. If the chart is right, we're about to see something out of the blue here happen that's bizarre. And this has only developed in the last 24 hours. And it's interesting because, Tucker Carlson is a national treasure. He really is. I mean, if anyone with an IQ above room temperature watches his show, you come to the conclusion he has no agenda, and I'm not here to promote anything any one way or another, but just listen to the guy. I mean, he's putting out some information that is being completely debunked by the entire rest of the social media as well as media. And this is really eerie. This is about as Orwellian as it gets. I mean, to not even acknowledge the possibility of covering a story, but just debunking it as Russian disinformation. And they've proven it wasn't. I hear the FBI is actually investigating it. So they wouldn't be doing so if it was completely debunked.
Now, the big question is who within the FBI? And hey, look, I've worked with the FBI. Okay. Back in, back in 82, 83, I was on a narcotics task force. We were tracking Mexican brown heroin and some other sort of cocaine and some other things that were flowing up into the Northwest. Okay. And something had happened within the Drug Enforcement Administration. And they had a shakeup there. Now, this was in the early days of Reagan. I'm not sure, I quite honestly, I don't remember anymore what the shakeup was about, but the FBI took over, okay? They began running the DEA for a while. And it was some very strange stuff. And hey, I got to tell you, local and state law enforcement organizations almost uniformly across the country have never been the biggest fans of the Phoebes, okay, the FBI. Sure. Never been the biggest fans. And I could go on, but hey, that's not what this is about tonight. But, right. At any rate, the FBI was tainted badly during the transition of President Trump. And as a cop or a former cop, when I saw Comey come forward and basically say that Hillary was guilty as hell, and I'm paraphrasing, this is metaphorical, a bit metaphorical, but we're not gonna charge her with anything. You will not know the anger that rushed through my system. I could not believe that. I mean, if that would have been you, Jeff Harman, if that would have been me.
By our thumbs. Yep.
Oh. And she's still, free and easy and calling you and I deplorables.
Oh, I was you were more in the law enforcement trenches, so you know a lot more about that than I do in that area. But I was in the forensics area for a short time, just for a number of years, doing all kinds of things in federal court and state and local courts on forensic stuff. And boy, I saw the same thing. I mean, there was one case, I won't mention where it was. The local authorities in a small town were popped bringing cocaine in huge amounts in planes in. And these, I won't mention, but this was some very high-level officials in this particular county. And what happened was, well, okay, you guys are caught. I'll tell you what, if you resign, we'll call it even. Now, you and I do that, we'd be sitting 20 years in prison. And this is the way this stuff goes. When you're in the fold, so to speak, you get special preferential treatment. And it's really kind of creepy because the technology in the future, when you look at how dependent we are on social media and also all our technologies. I mean, anybody who owns a smartphone, you are trackable. They can turn that on anytime they want. They can hear everything in the room and see everything on your camera, and you don't even know they're looking. I mean, it's really amazing what the future holds if we get regimes in charge of running our systems of society, and they want to be Orwellian or totalitarian. It's going to be a creepy place. I mean, look at what's happening in some of these countries where people, I mean, someone will show up at the door and say, "You're coming with us," and they never see him again.
Well,
what's going on in China.
I know a lot of vets, okay, going back to now, I guess the Vietnam vets were the old vets. Back when I was a kid, it was the World War I vets. And then as time went on, it was the World War II vets. Today, it's the Vietnam vets. But I know a lot of those guys. And I was thinking the other day about something that Kamala Harris said, that when she's running the country, now that told me, I looked under my hat, put on my detective hat, and I thought to myself, well, gee, that's pretty brazen for a vice presidential nominee to make a statement like that. Does that mean the fix is in? Joe gets elected, then he gets pushed out, and she's in charge, supposedly, okay? But she's going to sign executive orders to disarm the American public. And I thought about all those vets. I thought about the Vietnam vets and then the more recent vets, Desert Storm, Afghanistan, Iraqi, and I saw the potential fuse being lit for armed resistance in this country.
Well, I'll tell you, it won't bode well. I'll tell you that. I've got Joe Biden's Vedic astrology chart. And not only does people claim he's, when we hear it all the time, he calls Donald Trump George. He called him, and we hear different, cognizant problems with him almost daily. And I can tell you, if the astrology is right, if I got the right birth time and everything, even if I don't, I can tell you he's coming into cycles. If he gets elected, he will not be functional much more than probably a year and a half. He's got cycles that are very dangerous. I would say that his health is not going to be robust for long. Not for long. Nope. I would say within 2 years for sure, he will have a real big problem. See, what's interesting.
Well, between
is
you and
Saturn,
I would only give him 6 months, but that's me.
Yeah, that may be right. That's exactly right. But I can say he definitely wouldn't be within 2 years. That Saturn begins to transit his south node, and that's often a time where health really goes through challenges. And I would say even now is not a good time for him. And Trump is so much stronger. And I'm just going by their birth chart. Trump is just so much stronger. He really is. He's got the energies in the chart. And look at the guy's doing 3 rallies a day. To anybody that hates him, you got to give him hats off for energy alone, let alone he's extremely cognizant and extremely sharp in all his, rallies. I mean, he's just right there.
Well, the man was an international businessman, for God's sake.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Button heads with toughies all over the world.
It's very strong. I mean, if you shove these two astrological charts under my nose and said, okay, which guy do you think is going to be doing better? And you took the names off him, I'd pick that chart instantly. I'd say Donald Trump's chart, not because it's Donald Trump, but because of the energies in it. He actually hinted, and this is an interesting thing, that he could run a third term. Now that'll really, I'll get bricks thrown through my window for saying that. You got to remember, I'm in California, Don. And what'll happen is if he does get reelected, I heard there's a constitutional clause that says if the first term, if you're impeached, you potentially can negate the first term. I don't know if you've heard that.
Is that a fact? I was not aware of that.
That's what I heard. Well, and he made a mention at a rally, I think it was about 3 days ago, to that effect. I might even run for a third term. And I caught that, and I went, whoa. And I've heard this through some other people that I have as clients that are in the Washington belt, and they said that. They said that is a possibility. Now, to the Trump haters, I don't think you have any Trump haters listening to this channel, but if you do, a lot of times they listen. I mean, that's a possibility. It really is.
God, would I laugh?
That's crazy, but that is a possibility.
Well,
I think he's going to get in. That's what the chart says. I think they're going to pull the same shenanigans they did in 2016, where the popular vote's going to be skewed all over the place. I just cast a vote today, and I always feel like when I vote in California, I do it because I think it's my God-given right, but I always question the state, because it invariably seems to not matter how many people vote in the state. It comes out the other end of the funnel the way they want it to.
Well, pal, let's look at it this way. We have a governor currently that feels and thinks he has the right to dictate to you and I how many people we may have come to our home for Thanksgiving or Christmas, for that matter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And how long they can stay, and demand that everybody wear a mask. And during the meal, you can lift it up long enough to take a bite, and then you got to lower it back. I mean, good God.
Did you ever hear George Carlin on germs? I would encourage everybody to go listen to George Carlin on germs. It is the funniest skit. I love it. And he talks about how he used to swim in the river out in the I forget the name of the river in New York, but it had sewage in it. He says it builds a strong immune system. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I did hear that. That was.
My God, it's funny. It's funny. I tell you, what would George do if he was here right now?
He'd
probably be in jail.
He'd probably be canceled.
Yeah, right, exactly.
He'd probably be canceled.
George's office was in Brentwood, right on San Vicente. And every time I go by there, I always look up and go, George, we miss you. We miss you. Yeah.
No, I've never seen more snowflakes, and I'm from the East Coast. Okay,
sure.
I come from a place that had a lot of snow, but I've never seen more snowflakes melting in my life than the last few years. I really have not.
Yeah, I come from northern Wisconsin. I know it's cold up there too. We used to get a lot of snow.
So what do you see for the year upcoming, Jeff?
Well, I think this is going to be a crazy year on the world scene. I hope we don't see any shakers in this area in January. The reason why, there's some tight alignments that are coming up right in the middle of January. In the end of the first and second week, into the second week of January. Let's hope nothing happens. A lot of times it doesn't, but let's hope, nothing goes nuts. But we could see a little bit of activity. I think I was looking at the inauguration, or whoever gets in. I'm calling Trump just because of the charts. I don't think we're going to know who the president really is until the middle of this month, coming up, November, because of the counting. And I think we're going to see it all over the place. And I think there's going to be a lot of anger and unrest and potentially more rioting. But I think it's going to settle in, and next year we're going to start to get going. And if the charts are right, by the spring equinox, we're going to start to really see the economic growth get back on track and things start happening. I hope that that's true, because from what I see, the spring equinox is a time where the ancients used to cast charts on the equinoxes and solstices, and you can see what the energy patterns are. And what I like is the spring equinox looks like when the dust is settled and things are going to start to get up and get running. That's what it looks like to me. And I hope that that's true. I hope we don't see any more trouble over in the Southeast Asia area. Let's hope and pray that does not happen. And I think some of the things that the military is doing right now is probably going to keep that from happening. Let's hope and pray that that's true, because a lot of people don't know it. But, man, if anybody wants to jump on something interesting, go to American Military News. It's a great little news channel. And you'll see a lot of the things that are posted on there on a regular basis, and you'll see the aggressive stance that's going on right now between the U.S. and China on the international front that's not being talked about on any of the mind-controlled news channels. And it's pretty substantial. And I've had my eye on that. And I hope and pray that just resolves itself and moves on.
Well, that's an excellent question. Where does somebody that truly wants to know what the world picture is actually looking like, where do they go, Jeff?
Well, how do you mean that? Where do they go?
To get their actual, unvarnished, actual news.
Good luck on that one. The internet is so full of a diversity of things. Some of it is great. Some of it is not. Some of it's disinformation. I can tell you the cycles I find very reliable. I knew this was going to be the year from hell, and it has been. I mean, you look at the amount of people who have been devastated financially by this whole COVID thing and where it's all at. You look at the division in this country. I mean, we've never seen division like this before, ever. This is insane. And I think once the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction happens and we start turning the page towards what I would call a new era, and it really is, the last time we had energies like this was 240-something years ago. That was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and I believe the founding fathers of this country knew it. They were steeped in ancient knowledge of the cycles of astrology. And even though a lot of people don't believe that, there's a Masonic mural of George Washington laying the cornerstone of the foundation of the Capitol. And he's got his Masonic apron on. And what's interesting about all this stuff is they knew these cycles were very, very powerful on society. In fact, this always goes all the way back to the biblical Enoch and a text that is even much more ancient than that. It's called the Sefer Ratziel, which is the book of the Archangel Ratziel. And also text back in the ancient India, where we hear about the Vedas and the Rig Veda and the Artha Veda. These are really interesting. They all of these cultures, including the Egyptians, mentioned that when Jupiter and Saturn join in very specific configurations, the world changes. Well, we had the big one at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. If you look back, I mean, for thousands of years, for at least 2,000 years plus, we're riding around on horses, sailing across oceans with wind, and then we go from that to what? metallurgy, casting, machinery, steam, internal combustion engines, and then boom, this just explosion in electronics. Many people attribute that to the alien technology, which is also a possibility. But then we look at where are we now? Well, if you remember, everyone said we were going to be like the Jetsons in 1985. Well, that really didn't happen. A lot did happen, but that didn't happen. Well, I think it's going to happen now. I really do. I think there are technologies that have been suppressed, that haven't become commercially feasible, and they've been suppressed, that are going to start to come out over the next decade that are going to blow our minds. I hear cold fusion has been definitely developed, hydrogen technologies. I know the military's been using stuff like this. And Trump has dropped hints that we have technologies that China and Russia know nothing about. And I think he's exactly right from what I've heard. Of course, nobody is allowed to say anything, but anything we know about is probably 20 years old minimum for what the military actually has.
Well,
and I think some of this is going to come out.
Yeah, the one thing that I always look at with genuine, awe-inspiring amazement, the first aircraft heavier than air that took off from terra firma, went into the air, flew. Now, granted, it only flew under a minute, and it was only a few feet off the ground, but it happened in December 1903. That was the launch point. And Jeff, 69 short years later, we land on the moon and come back. Now, everybody that lived through that, I lived through that. Not the 1903 flight, but but the moon landing.
Yeah, we're not that old. Yeah.
No, but then you look at things that we haven't heard a bloody word about. The Space Force. What in the heck is the Space Force? What's that all about?
Well, we've got pulse weapons. We've got lasers mounted on our weaponry. I just heard that the Virginia-class submarines, which they claim was only one's out so far, I hear that's not true. There's many more out. They're like Hunt for the Red October. And that's just older technology, but we can go park right off of anybody's coast and they don't even know we're there. And the firepower these things have is eerie. And the capabilities are eerie. And that's just submarines, let alone everything else. And you're right, Space Force, they've got stuff. I heard from one client, I shouldn't mention this on air, but I will, that right over off of Phoenix, the Palo nuclear power plant may be much, much larger than anybody knows. And that was completed during the Reagan era, that Star Wars was actually finished. We've had it. And I hear it's connected also to HARP up in Alaska. So there's technologies that we've had that are astounding. I actually was brought by a prospector once out by Area 51, and I didn't know I was that close to it. I was probably about 35 miles away, and I got to the top of this mountain, and I'm looking, and I'm going, what is that? And I see like this lake bed and this craft, like a winged craft floating in. He said, that's Area 51. I said, oh, wow. And there's some weird stuff around there. No question. I mean, hovering stuff. I didn't see any saucers or anything, but I certainly saw some very strange looking kind of triangulated crafts, which could be the stealth bombers, but it was too far away to tell. But the stuff, I mean, all these things we hear about underground bases and all, it's I believe it's true. I really do. I think
back when Vicki and I were publishing UFO magazine, we did an issue based on Star Wars and Star Wars technology. We interviewed people at the Pentagon, just a whole lot of things. And I've always suspected that, they got a lot more happening there than anybody was talking about. And I think I actually broke a story on national TV, Jeff, that showed a Star Wars weapon in action. And that was STS-48 that I broke on NBC and on CNN back in 1992. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, I think they got it. I think they had it.
They were shooting at a bogey, at an unidentified object, and it was taken directly when the space shuttle was in orbit over Australia and New Zealand. And I am convinced, and boy, did I take heat for that. Oh my Lord, did I take heat for that?
Well,
but I think you're right.
I've heard it, same thing. I've just heard it from people who are in the engineering field and various different areas that, they can't say too much. But I was working with a black ops guy. I was doing some astrology for him. I've actually worked with remote viewing groups, quite a few of them, and we've done a lot of studies on, why certain targets get really accurate with astrology and why are they not accurate at other times. And so there's several groups I've been working with over the years. And I know a lot of things that I've heard that this technology is out there. In fact, I think it may be more like Men in Black than people realize. There's some very serious stuff going on. I ran into a Marine guy. I shouldn't mention this on air, but I will, because he's not going to get identified. But I heard that they have been studying and watching craft come in and out of Malibu out there, right off of Zuma Beach. People might know where Point Doom is.
Oh, yeah.
And,
that is not secret.
Huge. Oh, you bet. And these guys are tracking these things. They said the velocities are getting close in some cases to instantaneous from the time they leave the water to get outside of our atmosphere. It's blindingly fast. And, these are some pretty sharp guys, and they got a lot of toys to measure this stuff with. And they definitely, I've heard that it may be hollow at points all under the shelves of California, all the way up to Salt Lake City. It's pretty wild. A lot of stuff going on here we don't hear much about, and it's great that you are in that community that knows about this.
Yeah, it's some very freaky stuff. Well, have you been following the whole To the Stars group that has been exploring the UFO phenomena?
I don't know if I know about that particular group. But...
Well, it's been several seasons of this show have run.
The show, okay.
Yeah, a television show has run on the History Channel. And,
okay. Yeah, I am familiar with it. Yeah, I just don't follow it regularly.
Right, and it was originally Harry Reid, the former senior Democratic senator from Nevada. God, I almost said Utah. Nevada. He basically was the guy that originally secured funding for a secret Pentagon group to study aerial threats. Now, were they talking about Chinese aircraft or Russian aircraft? I don't think so. They were talking about the unexplained aircraft that have been flying around. So this has been building I believe it's been building to a crescendo. Have you seen anything in your charts that would suggest that?
Well, that's what I would say is, I think this new era coming in here is we're going to start to see people get more conditioned for accepting this. And this Saturn-Jupiter would certainly warrant that. It's happening in what we call a tropical air sign, which means the release of a lot of new technologies and people becoming much more aware of what's happening. And I think we're going to see that over the next decade. I really do. When exactly? Well, I would say we may see it start to roll out. I know, you and Camille and I have been around this stuff for a long time. And I remember speaking to, I forget the gentleman's name. There were two military guys. They wrote the book Left at Eastgate. I think you probably know who they are. Yeah. And I mean, I sat there with a number of different military guys and was hearing them say, we have objects come around and afterwards the circuit boards are blown out and the missiles don't work. And we don't know why. And we can't track them. We can't keep up with them. And whatever they are way past anything we can figure out. And you think about the human race we probably would have blown ourselves. I mean, you remember the Bay of Pigs? Remember that with I remembered I was a kid. Remember the air raid sirens were going off in the 60s? Oh my God. I remember I'd be a kid and the air raid sirens would go off every Saturday. You know, it's just eerie.
We
sound,
thought my dad was going to be headed down to Cuba.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So it was creepy stuff. And I don't think we realized how close we were to a major standoff with the Soviets. And I don't think we're too far away from it right now with the Chinese, personally. And I hope that's not true. But from what I'm hearing from guys in the military, it's pretty tenuous right now. Much more so. They are pissed off at us right now for selling that equipment to Taiwan. The United States just sold all this very sophisticated missile defense equipment, which is really pushing the Chinese back in the hole over there, because this is not, this is the same kind of stuff I hear is going on in Israel. It's like that Iron Net or whatever it is, or that Iron Dome. And anyways, back to the point here is there are forces that seem to be extremely, you could call them divine. Maybe they're divine. For all we know, there could be extraterrestrial combined with angelic forces, and I think there may be both, that seem to be keeping the human race from obliterating itself. A conventional war here and there, but they seem to be stepping in and disrupting the possibility of anyone using technologies that would cause mass destruction.
Well, back in the 50s, it was part of the UFO gestalt that the quote-unquote Space Brothers, the so-called ETs of that time frame, were warning humanity about the use of atomic weapons. Now, with that being said, the FBI, the CIA, they were all freaked out about this. A lot of people were not aware of it, but they thought this might be Russian Soviet disinformation trying to make inroads into the American nuclear arsenal, okay? But over the years, there have been a lot of things to suggest that somebody may have been onto something. I think dimensionally, if there were a full-scale nuclear delivery from everybody involved, not only would we obliterate the planet, at least life on the planet, but who knows what we would be doing with other dimensional areas around us.
That's right.
A lot of people believe that we are very, very, very close to other universes, Jeff.
And I think that's true. It's interesting you bring this up, because one of the documents that I've been really enamored with.
Well, here's the thing. You got less than a minute because we are almost out of time.
Well, it's good you brought that up, because it really appears that what you just said is correct. And I think, I always say, forget Trinity, Neo, and Morpheus. This is the real matrix here. It's a very special place where souls come to purify and rectify. And I think there are very, very many divine and also, you could say, extraterrestrial forces making sure that happens. Even though we have our chaos and all our plethoras of insanity, there's also a lot of wonderful, beautiful things going on this planet. You Jeff, find me somebody who can design life, let me know.
Jeff, this has been an absolute delight. I want to have you come back soon. Let's keep in touch, and we'll see what's happening in the next month or two. But in the meantime, I hope you and yours have a wonderful weekend. And stay safe, my friend.
You as well, my friend. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight. Have a wonderful Halloween weekend. Remember, go out and vote, and we'll see you next week. Good night.